Thanks for being here today. Rebecca Bessman and I are excited that you're here. We're going to go over mindful moments in the classroom, and we'll get started. So my name is Rebecca Hopp, and I'm the owner of HoppArt. I run my own studio here south of San Antonio and do artwork as well as teach. And I consider myself a creative person who loves to encourage others in their art and in other things, and also a reflective person so that I, take in things and really think about how they're useful and can be used later. So that is me. And then Becky, go ahead.
Thank you. I had a picture there, so that's something we'll have to take a look at and see why that showed up. My name is Becky Bessman, and what is indicated there for my personality type is actually what drew me more to becoming interested in yoga and pursuing my yoga teacher training. So I'm a registered 200-hour yoga teacher, and that's very recent. But what drove me to it is not the movement and the flexibility and the stretching and weird poses that you can get into, but more so actually the principles of yoga that come before the movement, and that's like slowing down and taking a breath and finding your presence and being able to just kind of be in that moment. And that has helped me so much. And so I'm really inspired to get to help bring that to others. No, let's go right to the end.
And we're done.
And that's all. So today, some of the topics that we're going to talk about is just bringing some awareness to the importance of a regulated nervous system, and then showing some breathing techniques that can help with regulating your nervous system as well as students in the classroom. And then Becky is going to give us some artistic add-ons that are great options to bring into the classroom to tie both kind of practice and art application together. One thing before we get started, Becky Hopp, I don't see your video, and I'm not sure if it's just me, but I wanted to check in on that to see if you were intending to or not.
Yes.
And then, Sandra, are you seeing it, or is it just me, maybe?
I see it. Do you see it, Sandra?
Yes, I do. Sorry, I couldn't find my unmute button. Yeah, no, I see both of you on my end.
Okay, cool.
It must be just because you're presenting.
Maybe unique. Okay, before we get started, I just want to take a moment and do some gentle stretching, a couple of breaths on your own, and then set an intention. And there are some optional intentions that you could set as kind of guides on the screen that you see. So just take a moment and kind of like sit back, or if you're standing, just like stand. Drop your shoulders down from your ears, relax, close your eyes, and just take a moment to set that intention and maybe reflect on your day. You don't have to say anything out loud. I love starting my day like this, just to kind of baseline, reset, be ready for whatever's going to come my way. All right, so then you can gently bring your eyes back open, wiggle fingers, toes, if you let them go a little bit. And let's talk a little about how breathing helps to regulate your nervous system. So first of all, an important thing is to know that you have both a sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. And the way that I think about it is, in sympathetic, you care a lot, and in parasympathetic, you kind of chill. And you need a good balance of both, right? So if you're being attacked by a bear, you need your sympathetic nervous system to kick in. But if you're being attacked by a bear all the time, like eventually you learn, like, these are my tactics. This is okay. I know how to resolve this situation. So that's being able to activate yourself into the parasympathetic nervous system. And it's a change from the idea of fight or flight to the rest or digest, and helping to promote a state of relaxation. Regulating your nervous system helps to balance your hormones as well. So that controlled breathing can help lower your stress levels, lower your stress hormones like cortisol, and that can help, again, maintaining hormone balance and reduce anxiety. It helps to improve your heart rate variability. And I've seen this many times when I was learning more through training. And first of all, I was like, what's heart rate variability? Because that's not a term that I was terribly familiar with. So your enhanced heart rate variability is a mark of a healthy, responsive nervous system. And your HRT is a variability between consecutive heartbeats. So the higher the HRV is generally indicating better cardiac health. So you want those heartbeats to go a little bit quicker, but you could err on one side or the other of that. So there's kind of that fine line. And then breathing to help regulate your nervous system also helps to calm the mind. So focused breathing techniques can reduce activity of your brain and your brain's stress circuits, and that can lead to a calmer and more centered mental state. So why is it important now? We learned a little bit of like, why is it important? How can breathing help? Why is it important to have that regulated nervous system? So this is a theme that you're going to hear over and over is stress management, right? So a well-regulated nervous system is going to help to manage stress effectively and maintain the balance between your relaxation, like it's okay, I'm fine, and your alertness, and having that alertness be present when you really need it instead of having it all the time. It also aids with your physical health. So proper regulation of the nervous system helps to, again, those stress hormones, cortisol, adrenaline, and that can improve your blood pressure, your heart health, and overall physical well-being. It aids with your emotional stability. So it enhances emotional well-being, and that allows us to respond with flexibly to different situations. Kind of, again, like bear attack or having your pen dropped in the classroom. Like those are two different extremes, and perhaps don't both warrant the same reaction. And you can learn techniques to help to regulate your nervous system so they don't get the same reaction. And then a regulated nervous system can help you with recovering from trauma. So it aids in recovery from chronic stress or traumatic experiences, and it helps us to feel safe and to feel secure.
So Becky, when you say recovering from trauma, can you go into a little bit more of that? Because I know, like, I've taken some trauma training for the classroom, and trauma means a lot of things to a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think, like, you can't put a specific definition on the amount of impact a certain thing had on an individual because there's so many environmental factors, but being equipped with some tools to help reset and take a moment back and help to evaluate, like, was this a really, really big deal? And how do I process that? And what's the safe next steps? Or was this a knee-jerk reaction to a moment? And I need to be able to process that, put it in the bank, and I can safely move forward because I've gotten my breathing and my emotional state back in check.
Okay, great. So on my side of things, the creative activities and what they do for your body, a lot of this is reflecting on what Becky just talked about. Art allows you to manage your stress. So participating in any type of art activity reduces your stress, allows you to, go into those creative, spaces, and increases your dopamine and lowers that stress cortisol hormone that comes in. It slows you down, which is something that you will really notice if you're like something as simple as coloring. I still, as a 40-year-old, love to color. If Adeline says, hey, can we color? I'm there. I drop everything. As opposed to playing Barbies, I will color in any situation. Just because it's calming, it's simple. You don't need to use your brain very much. So it really just slows you down. Art also helps with your emotional stability. Creativity is like the perfect outlet for expressing emotions, whether it's like moving a brush really fast or like tearing a hole in a paper with your pen because you're so angry, or just, like doodling on the paper during a meeting. Any of those things help you kind of like release different types of emotions that are happening. And along with that is mental health. So it creates a space for you and your brain to really like notice, hey, I've made this. This is really cool. Or, hey, that felt really great for me making something or accomplishing something. Or even like going to a museum and looking at artwork kind of puts you in a different space and lets your brain kind of imagine or put yourself into a different situation, or you feel different things. So it really helps with our mental health as well.
Something that you said, Becky, poses a question for you. I am so much of a perfectionist that sometimes it's sitting down and thinking about doing a craft or art project gets overwhelming to me, because I want it to be like, I want to nail it. I want to nail the entire thing. And then that does the opposite reaction, right? Doesn't necessarily slow me down or bring me to a calm, comfortable state. So what advice would you give for people like me?
Yeah, great. I have this problem all the time too, because I want it to be like, I want it to be what I think I want it, what I think I need it to be, or what I imagine it to be. And most of the time it never turns out exactly the way you planned. And so taking a step back and just realizing, hey, I'm going to do something creative, and it is not going to go on the wall of the MoMA. It's okay. But I'm just going to take this time to create something, and it can be great. It can just be the process. Like, that's something that's really important in my like teaching philosophy, is that the journey is much more important than the actual final project, because it's about enjoying that process, enjoying what you are going through to create that, rather than like, oh, this is the perfect bunny that I've ever created and it's going to be great. So whether it's like drawing simple lines on the paper, just be there and say, hey, you know what? I drew this really great line today. You know, and that's all it needs to be. You don't need to like make it something fabulous. It's about the process.
Mm-hmm. I like that. One step at a time. Don't get ahead of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to introduce some breathing techniques. We're going to take a little bit of time to learn about them and then to do them. And then Becky's going to provide some guidance on art activities that could accompany that, if it was something that you would like to use as an activity in the classroom. So the first one is diaphragmatic breathing, or we call belly breathing. And that is deep breathing that really fully engages the diaphragm, which is the muscle that's below the base of the lungs. And so when that's fully engaged and it's expanding, it allows your lungs to expand at a much deeper level. And it allows for a more efficient lung function and promotes relaxation by encouraging slower, deeper breaths. Because if you're really filling up your lungs and you're pushing your diaphragm down, it takes time to do that. So you can't do that with quick, rapid breathing. So to do that, you place one hand and you put on your chest, take the other hand, put it just about your belly button, maybe a little bit above that. And then it's just slow breaths in through the nose. And often you can hear people cue to do out through the mouth or out through the nose. It's just slow. And sometimes that you would suggest to have a duration of time for that breath in. So for example, I'm going to do for a count of 4 in. So one hand chest, one hand belly, and 4, and then out, 2, 3, 4. And doing that really, honestly, for as many times as you need. But in a classroom or a yoga course types or yoga class type setting, even starting up activity with that for like 4 rounds of breath can really just help kind of bring a presence back and a calmness back into the room. Becky, you're on mute if you're talking.
Thank you. I have this book, so I love the belly breathing because I have this book, and it's not gonna let. Oh wait, there we go, because I've got my background blurred. But this is one of the cutest books I've ever seen that ties directly to what Becky just talked about, and it's just a simple book with some really adorable animals in it. And it talks about belly breathing, and it talks about how they're breathe in through your nose or through your snout or through your trunk. And it just shows these great animals. So it just reminds them there's arrows of like how they're breathing in and breathing out. So if your students are younger and they need a visual, the animals do the breathing, and and you want to kind of slow down, this is a great book for you to use. So it's called Belly Breathe, and it's by Leslie Kimmelman, and I'll have this in the resources at the end. But it's a great book.
Another helpful breathing technique is box breathing, or you might hear called square breathing. This is a really simple yet powerful deep breathing technique that helps to calm the nervous system, reduce stress, improve focus. Also, this, as Becky will go into, can have like an element of touch along with it, and sometimes coupling those can have like double effect on calming the mind. So to do this one, it's an inhale for a count of 4, and then you hold that for the same amount. So hold for 4. Exhale for a count of 4, and then hold that for a count, and then you repeat. And I'm going to add a layer onto belly breathing, which is alternate, sorry, not belly breathing, the box breathing, which is alternate nostril breathing. And this is a technique that helps to balance the body's energy channels and reduce stress, promote that overall relaxation and mental clarity. So there's actually some science behind that. The side of your nose that you're breathing in and out through can help, because this is something I meant to triple check myself on, but I'm fairly confident that this is the true side, that your sympathetic nervous system is tied to the right side of your body and your parasympathetic to the left. I will get that accurate and have Becky send it out to make sure I said the right thing. But with alternate nostril breathing, what you can do is place your hands, and there's a lot of techniques that you'll hear people share for the right and wrong way to do this. I don't think there's a wrong way. And honestly, most of the time I just use my thumb and my pointer finger and plug one side of my nose, breathe in the other side, hold that for the amount of counts, and then plug the other side of my nose, hold, and let it out through the other side of my nostrils. So again, suggested duration of time for this. If you're ever doing these with students or on your own, I suggest starting with a lower amount of time, because people will try to get into a competition or try and figure out, like, I can do this for hours. Don't do that. Don't overtax yourself. I suggest starting for like counts of 4, and then you can work your way up to maybe 6 or 8.
So tied to this, the square breathing, and sorry, I just like swallowed wrong, so I'm gonna have the funny voice for that. That's why I was like, oh. But tied to this, I love the idea of square breathing, just kind of 4, 4, 4, 4, and thinking about making visuals or making something tactile for your students to kind of remember to do this. I have puff paint, that it's fabric puff paint, but you can, get whatever kind. And just think about, okay, what are they always carrying with them? Do they have a binder? Do they have a notebook? Do they have, a little card that they could keep in their backpack? And you can literally use the puff paint to make 4, make a line, make a box, and however you want to. And so it's something visual that they can run their fingers over to do the 1, 2, 3, 4 in, 1, 2, 3, 4 out kind of thing. And let me see if my video, Becky, can you see if the video will play?
Yep. I don't know that I shared my screen with audio, so we'll see.
Okay. It's okay if the audio is not there. Yep. So they're just simple lines and shapes for you to draw, and then they can move their hand over it. And again, you can put it on a notebook, maybe make a bookmark out of it. Find different ways or different places that can be meaningful to them or helpful for them. And it's something tactile that's always with them to help them remember this technique. And there are also stickers that you can buy on whatever platform you want to. Amazon has them. And it just is the same thing. And it reminds you to breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. So if you are along the sticker route versus the creative route, that is available for you also. I think it's also a really great thing to have like on their desk during a test. I think for me, if I would have had that, okay, this problem is really difficult. I'm going to take a second to breathe and then run my finger over this. And now I'm going to get started. Like just a second to kind of calm before I go into the next problem or the next paragraph or whatever. And it's always there. So it's kind of like a comforting thing as well as a reminder for you.
Another technique that you can use is 5-finger breathing. And with this one, it has a tactile amount to it too. And again, having that doubles down on the amount that your brain can slow down because it's focusing on something else. So with this one, you take your hand and start at the base of one finger. And for a certain amount of counts, or you can say as slow as you can go, but on the trace up, you're breathing in. And as you trace back down, you're breathing out. And just continue that motion going over your hand. And then if you need to, you can do it in reverse.
Tying in with this one, I mean, moving your finger across your hand is very tactile, very, I think there's lots of sensory things happening in this. And so if you've got a student who enjoys that, I think this is a great one. Another way of reminding that I connected it is a simple paper clip. Now these paper clips have little googly eyes on them, which I'm a fan of googly eyes in any situation that you can add googly eyes. But having a paper clip for them to, again, follow that path and breathe in and out with each loop is another really simple reminder that's tied to this that they could use. There's also Shrinky Dinks. Hopefully most people have used Shrinky Dinks before, but it's basically this plastic type of paper. I actually have some on my desk because a friend just sent me some. So it's this like plasticky kind of paper. And whatever you put on it, like paint or marker, whatever, then you put it in the oven and it will shrink down to, if you have a size handprint, it'll shrink down to about that size. So from here to about here. And you can make keychains. A lot of people will make like Father's Day keychains with, the little kids' handprints or whatever. But that's another way, if they can make their handprint on there and then make a keychain and have that with them to remember to do that process. That's a real simple way to kind of keep this one on their mind. Another idea for this one, and Becky, can you move it forward? This is a project that you can do, and it can kind of be connected in many different ways. But again, simply tracing your hand on a piece of paper or texture paper. I used a magazine cover that I liked the texture of it, and I just traced my hand, and then I cut it out, and then I thought of different affirmations that would be helpful. So I am kind, I am beautiful, I am strong, I am smart, all those kind of things. So that could be like the cover of their notebook again, or on their desk to continually remind them to, one, breathe, and two, that they are wonderful people that have things to contribute to your class, and really put a positive mindset for them. There's lots of cool things to like vary off of just this simple project. So if you've got an art classroom and you're able to put a big sheet of paper on the wall, you can literally do handprints with paint and handprints, and then they can write their words on that. If you're lucky enough to actually put handprints on the wall, that's pretty cool. In my studio, I have people put handprints on the floor of my studio. So that's something cool. You can also have the students trace their whole body and do this, but I will warn you, or come at that with there's lots of things in video games and lots of tracing of whole bodies that have other connotations. So just be aware of your audience and your students, and be prepared to have conversations about tracing outlines of bodies, because it definitely has other places that it can go, but you know your audience better than I do. Another cool thing is to make garland out of it. So stringing all the hands together and putting them like over your whiteboard so that everybody can see all the different hands, and it's kind of makes it like a group project, and they can come and see everybody's every day. And it might be a good thing to point out if somebody's having a challenging day, say, Johnny, where's your hand? Where's your handprint? And then you can find it and be like, oh, you are, what? I know you're kind, and I know you're smart, and I know that you are strong. And your classmates knew that too. So it's a way for you as a teacher to also build them up and have that visual reminder of those things for them. Go ahead. Another fun thing for the little ones is a simple feather and a paper plate. So if you put your paper plates down on the table and you put a feather on it, the challenge is to just breathe. Move that feather wherever it can go. And this is a fun way to get your little ones or even older ones to have a visual connected to breath. So when we breathe, we can feel it, but we can't see it. So when you're breathing and moving a feather around, it gives you a visual. Something is happening, and I can see my breath now in that aspect. I can feel what's happening. I can watch the feather move. This can be a fun, just crazy kind of game that you play. It can be competitions who can move the feather farthest. You know, you can take it in a whole bunch of different directions, but something as simple as a feather on, you know, on the table or on a plate moving around is really fun. Another one that I really love, and Becky, can you play the video of Adeline? It's real fast. I don't know if it'll play.
Yeah.
It may go just way too fast. Let's see. So watercolor, liquid watercolor, or you can just use regular watercolor and really water it down. And you take a dropper with the watercolor in it and drop it all over the paper. So you're making puddles of color. And then you just need a straw and your breath, and you can blow the paint in all sorts of directions. And the goal is to kind of make like one blob of something and then let it dry. And again, add googly eyes because they're always important. And then you have your own breathing buddy, your own little monster that's your breathing buddy that they can get a name to it, or it can just be something silly that you have around. But it's another way to remind them how your breath works and to use it. And you know, maybe that breathing buddy goes on in their binder or their notebook so they can see it often and remember to breathe. So it's a fun one. Some artwork that I think would be great to explore when we're talking about breathing. These two, one is by Vincent Van Gogh and the other one is a goldfish by Henry Matisse. But I put some questions in here for you to prompt your students when you're thinking about these paintings and how to make these connections. And so how would you describe the shapes in the sky? So like the swirl is happening. So have them physically move their finger and also think about how that could be used as a breath. So we're breathing in and out and in. And just the visual of a swirl helps me think about a breathing pattern. It's kind of moving back and forth. You can also talk about how art makes you feel, how this specific artwork makes you feel. Now, some might be calmed by it, others might be stressed by it. So why is that? What is it in the painting that causes those things to happen, and how does that make you feel? The goldfish painting is a really fun one to tie into science. So how do fish breathe in the water? You know, where's the science? What do you know about that with fish? Can you make your cheeks puff out like a puffer fish? Can you imagine that you're swimming in this cold water and focusing on using your gills to breathe, all right? So putting them in like an imaginary space where they're really thinking about breathing. Oh, go ahead, sorry. Another great one that I discovered when I was working on this topic is Enzo. It's a Japanese calligraphy and ink painting technique. And everything is drawn in one fluid motion. So this contemporary artist, Thoth Adan, has some beautiful black and white work. And they're blobs, they're simple line drawings. But it's a really, really beautiful way of just thinking about one breath or one movement that's happening. So I would suggest that would be a great artist to check out and spend some time discussing with your students. Chances are this is a type of artwork that they've never encountered before and might be challenging because they're used to looking at paintings or the Mona Lisa. this is not the Mona Lisa. This is a very, very different type of artwork. And so I think it challenges the students to really think about what art is, what it's not to them, what it could be, all of those things, but tying in, those simple mark making activities. Another really cool, fun thing is sound waves. So there's this website called Wave Visual. And when we get done with this, we'll send you a PDF so you have all these links. But Wave Visual is a very simple thing. You hit the record button and then you can talk, or you can breathe in and breathe out, which is what this little pattern is at the bottom right here. It's just me breathing in and breathing out and breathing in and breathing out. So it's another way to make a visual out of something that we can't see, but we can practice. And so using that sound wave to make just this as a piece of artwork would be awesome, but you can also translate or transform those sound waves into more. So you could turn this image into a landscape with trees. It could be a forest. They could build off of that. It could be reflections in the water. It could be mountains with icebergs, all that kind of thing. You imagine it, it can happen. So it would be really fun to have each student make their own and then think about what they could transfer or translate it into as they go along. Okay. All right. So I don't know if you've ever heard of blind contour drawings. A more correct way of saying it now would be no-look drawings. And this is one of my favorite activities of all time to do, because your students will giggle and have a great time and accomplish the things that they really, thinking about it, and it makes them focus. So basically what you do is you pick a partner across the room or close by you, however, and you put your pen down on the paper, and you can only look at your partner. You cannot look at your paper. Only look at your partner, and then you start to draw them. Now, the key is you cannot pick up your pen or your marker. So you're going to get this wild drawing that sometimes looks crazy, exactly like the person in such a weird way. I love these because they're so funny and fun, and there's so many, I don't know, it's just so many different ways you can play with this. So when you're done doing that drawing, you can talk about what it felt like to make those marks and not look at the paper. You can also talk about the challenges that they had completely focusing on one person for that 2-3 minutes that they were working on it. And you can also color in all the different shapes that you created as a second part of the process. The second one in this one is music, lines, and emotions. This is a great one to bring in music. So music changes our emotions, changes the way our heart is beating, way we're breathing, the way we are going to calm down or get excited about something. So however the song is moving is the way that the students will be making their marks on the paper. Whether that's super fast lines because the song is really, really fast, or swirling lines because it seems to be going that direction, or I love Vivaldi, those songs that he has, because there's so much change in them. So simple mark making, simple lines following the music. And you can really use that to kind of change the mood of the classroom very quickly. Let's calm down, let's listen to this, or I want, let's get going and let's start the class up with lots of energy with a faster song. Okay. All right. So I think most people know what a mandala is, but this is a really fun, simple way of bringing back some of those calming ways with coloring and that sort of thing. So mandalas are repetitive shapes, kind of over and over and over again. So you can have your students make mandalas with simple dots that are repeating over and over again. I love painting rocks with mandalas, or having the color start really dark and getting lighter as it goes out, or doing this on a canvas. You could even have them come up and do it on a dry erase board. or on newspaper, scraps of paper. Again, when Becky was talking about, you know, making this great thing and being stressed out about having this perfect thing. Well, if you hand me a newspaper and tell me to draw all over it, I'm probably going to have less attachment to getting something perfect and wonderful if where I start from is already full of something. So you kind of move away from that like blank canvas feeling, like I don't know where to start, I don't know what to do. Well, there's already stuff written all over this. Scratch paper, whatever you have. It doesn't have to, you know, cost lots of money to make something really neat, and just have them start making those repetitive shapes, repetitive patterns. You can find a million mandala coloring books out there, or you can make your own. And Becky, the next slide, if you want to hit play on that one, let's see if it'll work. And there's some really cool image generator options here. So I have image generator and illustrator creator. Can you hear it, Sandra? Looking to create a photo, I probably would use image generator. If I'm looking to create a coloring page or specific things that looks more hand drawn or something that I put together, possibly an illustrator, that sort of thing. That looking.
Pause for dramatic effect.
Let me just talk through it.
Well, I can pause sharing and share again with the audio. That's my mistake.
Okay.
We're learning. Make myself real quick. Uh-huh. Actually, I think the thing I'm learning is because it's not in a browser tab, it's not going to let me today.
Gotcha.
So,
okay.
Yeah, I'll go back and hit play, and we'll practice with it for future.
If you just want to, I don't know if it helps. Can you mute it?
I don't think so.
Okay, I can just explain it. So, Sandra, have you used AI before, like ChatGPT?
I have not used it. I know of it,
okay.
But I have not used it yet.
Okay, so you can set up a free ChatGPT account. There's several other AI platforms as well, but ChatGPT is the one that I use for image creation. So if you go up to the left side, where right above my little video that's playing right there, I'll circle it here in a second, but it says ChatGPT, and right below that, you click and it opens up this box of a whole bunch of different types of AI that you can use. And so the two that I've used most often are image generator and illustrator creator. I believe it's creator. Image generator is more for like creating photos or something that's a little bit more realistic, whereas Illustrator is more thinking about like things you could actually make in Adobe Illustrator, or drawn by hand and that sort of thing. So all I did is go in there and I typed in create a mandala coloring page, and with a simple black outline, include repeating stars and a unicorn. So you can change that up to whatever your students might be into at the moment so that there's something that connects with them. And then you hit enter, return, and I think it'll show it here. So the more descriptive you are, the better the image will come out. And you have it's either 3 or 4 free images per like 24 hours or something. So if it doesn't come out right the first time, you can try again. Because sometimes I'm very specific. Do not include da 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 da, and it still includes it. So it's not like a perfect science, but it does the trick for things. So there's the mandala that AI created. I've in the process of doing setting this up, I've created like 5 or 6 different ones, and they all turn out very different. But they've all been really, really neat and unique. And so it's a easy, fun way for you to be like, hey, we are studying XYZ. I'm going to make a mandala about it, or I'm going to create something else. So definitely don't be afraid of AI. I've learned that it's an amazing tool that with your experience, your knowledge, your education, it just makes, what you input and what comes out pretty amazing. So it's a really neat tool. Okay.
I gotta find the right spot to click. Nope. There we go.
Yep. All right. So some suggestions of children's books. Whether you are teaching really littles or you have older students, I think there's some really great things in any of these books, even though they're probably geared for elementary. But a few that I wanted to highlight is Listening to My Body. And this book really helps your students start to notice those physical sensations that happen when they're getting angry or when they're calming down. So thinking about your emotions and self-regulating, which is exactly what these breathing techniques do. They help you to really notice what's going on in your body while you are doing that breathing. And so this is a really great one. And it also includes some parent and teacher resources and discussion questions, which is ultimately valuable for for any teacher to be able to use to kind of pull some great information out of. All right. And then two others that I really love, My Magic Breath. I love this because it adds a visual to something we can't see. So there's lots of beautiful swirls and things that happen as she talks about her magic breath and talks about breathing and how she's doing that and watching it flow. So there could be a really beautiful art project after you read this book to your students as well. And then Breathe Like a Bear is another great one. Each page has a different animal, and it kind of sets you in this place. I'm a hibernating bear, and I'm going to slow my breathing down because I'm starting the process of hibernating and that sort of thing. So it gives you a little bit of a scenario to start your breathing technique with. And it also allows your students to add a little theater to their day, add a little imagination and that sort of thing. So I love that book as well. Okay. A few things that are really fun for bringing into the classroom. We talked about those sensory stickers that you can kind of feel and breathe. Some of them have dots on them, that sort of thing. They also have positive messages on them and things like that. A Tibetan singing bowl is a really fun thing to add to the classroom. You can buy them. They're in a range of prices, but it's a really calming, nice sound to start the class with, to start your breathing with. And Amazon actually has these kits called the Calm Down Corner Kit that you can buy and just set it up, or you can go onto Amazon and see what they have and see how you can make your own with things that you already have. So just setting up a space where if you've got a student that needs a moment, hey, go over and chill in the Calm Down corner for a minute and come back when you're ready to start again. So these are some really cool items. Becky, can you talk a little bit more about the Tibetan singing bowl and what the process is for that, or why it's really great?
The how? Yeah. Also, I'm gonna look into the Calm Down Corner kit just for myself to have available. But the Tibetan singing bowl helps with vibrational frequency balancing, which we are all energy, and energy can get out of whack, especially you're in that fight or flight mode, and your energy is running at a higher pace. So Tibetan singing bowls and crystal bowls come at different frequency levels, and they help to when you're playing them, it's at a consistent frequency to help bring your body back into a harmonious, balanced state. And different frequencies serve different purposes, which can be an entire another topic for me to go into someday. if you are interested in the sound or having that effect in the classroom, there is also some sound bowls videos on YouTube. And personally, I use them like every evening as like a calm down mechanism and kind of triggering my body to, it's okay, you're safe, slow down, we're ready to go to bed. So I put a link in here that you could reference. And then in addition to that, so there's a couple of breathing techniques that there are link tos that you could show in the classroom for belly breathing and the relaxed breathing. It's just giving more of that focused visual for kids to follow along with to complete a breathing exercise. And then I found some really cool articles about the effects that bringing that mindfulness and breathing techniques into the classroom, the effects that it has had on students. So I linked those there to take a look at. Becky, you're on mute.
Okay, thank you. I'm trying to like be quiet and then I forget. But a few more links if you're curious about the science between art and the brain. There's lots of studies out there, which is really neat. The one I wanted to highlight is how does art help with the parasympathetic nervous system? Because Becky talked about the parasympathetic nervous system and I didn't really know what that was. So I found this article and I thought it was really neat to learn about the two different types of things that are happening in our nervous system and the activities that kind of bring both of those into a center, or like a, how did you say it, Becky? Like a balance between the two. And so there's lots of great tips in this specific article about that, and encouraging you to kind of go into that creative mode. And again, they talk about simple things like coloring, anything that's sort of mindless. You know, you don't have to put all your end all be all every piece of focus in. You just have to fill the lines in. And also things like going to the theater and just sitting and experiencing that also helps, or painting or drawing or doodling. I know when I sit through any sort of talk or meeting or anything, either I'm taking notes or I'm doodling. And I always thought, like when I was younger, oh, I'm being disrespectful, but really, to be honest, that doodling is what I need to stay focused. So if you've got a student like that, you know, like is kind of, you can tell that they're on edge a little bit, give them a pencil and say, you still need to watch me, but you can also continue moving your hand, draw whatever you need to draw. And for me, it just helps me focus that much more. Even if it's just, again, simple lines that I'm drawing. So this is a great article that gives you some tips about that. So that, and there's some other great ones in there too, if you want to check that out. And then Becky, this one's you.
Yeah. So we've gone over quite a bit of information and it's all really, really wonderful, but wanting to do just kind of a check back in with you and taking an opportunity to do that 5-finger breathing and apply some of what we have learned and be able to just take a moment to think about some of the things that we've learned today, think about how you might be able to apply them in your classroom, and at the same time doing that motion to help kind of slow down your body. So if you would, we'll put a hand up. We're going to start at the base of our hand and then go ahead, just as slow and as a comfortable pace as you have. We're going to breathe in as you draw up and then breathe out as you draw down. Very good. Just take a chance to let everything digest a little bit. And after doing that, and after taking in some of the information that we have shared today, just a quick pulse check. Like, have you noticed anything in your own body from when we first started and took that moment to kind of decompress and relax? Have you noticed anything about a switch in your mindset from when we got started? I know being probably in the classroom where you did your day's activities. Sometimes it's hard to turn your brain off. And I actually experience that a lot. I do work from home. And so being in that space consistently, you have to find something that can help you to transition from one mode to the other. And I find that breathing helps with that quite a bit. And then just a pulse check on opportunities that you might see to include this in your lives or in your classrooms. And that's things you can kind of ruminate, think about on your own.
And so as we close, we're going to go over some of this information, and then we'll kind of open it up for questions. But I have a Facebook group, and so as you try some of these things out, or as you make variations to some of these art projects, or suggestions or activities, please share what you've done or challenges that you face in this Facebook group so that we can have a conversation, a dialogue that keeps going. It helps us all be better educators in our own ways. So share those ideas, share those questions, share those challenges, and we'll chime in also to kind of answer questions and that sort of thing. So also, please stay connected with us. I'm in Texas, Becky's in Ohio. But we're also always available to do in-person trainings. We want to do a virtual thing with your staff, or one-on-one training with you, or coaching, that sort of thing. We're happy to do those with you, so please reach out. Okay, so we will open it up for questions now.